Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today in this video I'm going to show how to fix USB ports on macOS. So before starting, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, then please go and subscribe to our channel and stay connected for the latest updates. Now coming back to the guide, this guide is intended for Intel PCs only, as AMD PC works out of the box, in most cases. Also, this guide may not work for adding USB cards except for AS Media. Now, boot your target computer to BIOS. After booting, change the following USB-related settings if you have such options, and then save and exit setup and boot back to macOS. Now, after booting to macOS, you'll need a few tools and texts, which you'll be able to download from the link given under the description. Hackintosh, for identifying the USB controller's info. OpenCore configurator, for mounting ESP and editing config plist. And required texts for enabling USB ports. Now, open Hackintosh, and obtain your USB controller's device ID and vendor ID from the PCIe section. USB controller is generally listed under subclass as USB controller. Here in my case, my USB controller's device ID is 43ED, and the vendor ID is 8086. Make sure to keep the info in your mind. Now, open OpenCore configurator, and mount your ESP. After mounting the ESP, go to the ACPI folder of your EFI. Now here, you'll need to put the USB SSDT as per your platform. You can get the SSDT from OpenCore package, under Docs, ACPI samples, binaries. Here I have kept SSDT ECUSBX, as my PC is a Comet Lake build. Put the SSDT accordingly to the ACPI folder, and then go to the text folder of your EFI. Here in the text folder, you'll need to put a few texts depending on your controller's device ID and vendor ID, as well as your motherboard series. Here just for reference, I've a list of the texts you'll require, depending on your motherboard series, device and vendor ID. Here in my case, I'm using a 500 series motherboard, and the device ID is 43ED, and the vendor ID is 8086. Which means I'll be using these two texts. If you have any doubt which text to use, verify once again from Hackintosh. In case you can't figure it out, follow the in-depth guide on our website. Now, put the required texts, depending upon your system and controller's info. Here I've the required texts for my PC. Also, if the texts are already present in your EFI directory, make sure to use the latest and updated text. After putting the required texts to the texts folder, open config.plist. Here in the ACPI tab, make sure to add the entry of the SSDT you're using. Also, make sure that it's enabled. After creating the entry, go to Patch section. And here, add the following ACPI renames, depending on the system type. These renames are only required up to Broadwell. According to my build, no renames are required. But if your system requires any ACPI renames, add it, and after that go to the kernel section. Here, add the entries of texts, and make sure to keep them in sorted order, and also check whether it's enabled or not. After adding the entry, check XHCI port limit in the Works section of Kernel tab. If you're using macOS Big Sur version 11.2, or any prior version of macOS. As I'm using macOS Ventura, so I won't be enabling this quirk, as I don't need my 3.0 ports working. Now, go to the Platform Info tab, and set up an appropriate SMBIOS for your system, from the drop-down list. To set up SMBIOS for your system, follow the guide linked below. After choosing the correct SMBIOS, go to the UEFI section, and from here, make sure to enable this quirk. But if your USB ports aren't working, disable it. Now, close OpenCore Configurator, and save the changes made to the config plist. And now, quit all the running apps, and eject the mounted ESP. And restart your PC, in order to see the changes. During restart, make sure to reset the NVRAM at least once. Now after booting back to macOS, you'll have your all USB ports working, if you are running macOS Big Sur version 11.2 or prior. But if you're running macOS Big Sur version 11.3 or later, you'll have working USB 2.0 or 3.0 ports, which depends on the setting of XHCI port limit quirk. However, it's highly recommended to map your USB ports to avoid data corruption, and attain proper read-write speed. USB mapping is recommended for users having macOS Big Sur version 11.2 or prior, but mandatory for users having macOS Big Sur version 11.3 or later, in order to get USB 2.0 and 3.0 working simultaneously. So, that was it. Hope it was useful. Consider like for the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any question, just comment down below, or create a thread on our forum. Make sure to check out the forum for in-depth guides. Thanks for watching, and have a great day ahead.